So we're going to get a Spider-Man No Way Home and What If trailer soon. Because as of recently, there was a Lego leak for Spider-Man No Way Home. There was just today there was a Funko Pop leak for Spider-Man No Way Home. And throughout the past few days, there's been a Funko Pop link for What If, right? Which is that Marvel animated series that in theory seems really cool, but they might totally botch up. Because, like, on one hand, it's like, oh, what if Peggy Carter was Captain America? Marvel Zombies. And it's like, that's cool. But then they're also doing what if T'Challa was Star-Lord, which, like, the Peggy Carter one doesn't have that much potential either. But you got to do one of them at least. But two, I don't know. I guess I just want more interesting things. Like, I don't know. What if Quicksilver survived Age of Ultron? That'd be an interesting one. And I have no idea what the Doctor Strange Supreme. I have no idea what that is. But yeah, we've been getting all these Funko Pop leaks, and so maybe it's time we finally get something. I mean, Black Widow comes out in less than a week. Maybe we'll finally get something. Also, I just might as well say up off the top here that next week we do have another episode of Loki, but we do also have Black Widow, which is finally coming out. I think it's been 15 months since it was originally supposed to come out. It's finally here, and I will be doing something. I don't know what. This one, unlike some of the other shit that I say, oh, I'm gonna do it, and then I never do. This one I will actually be doing something. But let's actually get to the episode. This is episode 4, the Nexus event, which is a good episode, but I do have some complex feelings on it. There was a thing I didn't say last week that I really should have said last week. But we'll get to that when we get to that. So the episode starts off, we see Sylvie as a kid on Asgard. When the TVA shows up, they take her. She goes through all the TVA rigmarole. She's a child. There's this guy getting yelled at, and she's like, oh, help him. Because she's a nice kid, and we'll get back to that. But eventually she gets taken before the judge because she's taken in by A23, who is Ravonna. The judge that we see in the present day, well, she's just an agent at this time. And she takes in kid Sylvie. Sylvie's able to steal her time pad and get away. So that's where our episode starts off. It's her backstory. What I wanted last episode, we're finally getting this time. And like I said last episode, from there, we then go to the Timekeepers. We see Ravonna go in front of the Timekeepers. We don't actually see what's said because that's when it cuts the title screen. When we get back, she talks to Mobius about what happened, that the Timekeepers aren't happy. They're blaming her. Also, she mentions that C20, right, the hunter who got abducted last time, and Sylvie like enchanted her. I think is how the last episode opened. That she's dead because Mobius wants to talk to C20. That C20 is the key, and now she's dead. Her mind has been scrambled, and it was just deteriorating. And yeah, she died. Of course, immediately just the way Ravonna talks, it's like, yep, foul play's going on here. Clearly something happened. From there, we go back to Loki and Sylvie. They're still on Lamentus. I almost called it Vormir for a second there. Remember when we thought this was going to be Vormir? Remember when we thought like, hey, what if this is because we know this is a show about like time travel and like different points in the multiverse. What if this was on Vormir before Black Widow jumps off the cliff? Because, at one point, Loki and Sylvie are sitting down, and based on the lighting and everything, Sylvie looks like she has red hair, and it looks kind of like, at least from the back anyways, it looks kind of like Scarlett Johansson. So in the trailer, we were like, are they going that deep? Because at this time, I think WandaVision had premiered, or at least we were early enough in WandaVision that we hadn't completely tempered our expectations and been like, oh, we'd be lucky if we get anything, which, to be fair, this episode does give us at least one cameo, which I think is neat. But no, this is just Loki and Sylvie talking, that Sylvie gives her backstory about how she's been on the run for many years. She doesn't she's lived this entire time off the timeline. She eventually did figure out that, right, no matter where she went, she caused the Nexus event. So eventually she started hiding out in apocalypses, which I still think is a very clever thing in this show. And they talk about Lokis and how Lokis are destined to lose. However, no matter what, Lokis don't die. They may lose, but they don't die. And I like the meta-ness of this. Again, I think we talked in Falcon and Winter Soldier about how I like the idea of a meta villain who's aware they're a villain and they can't win because they know they're a villain. But like if they try to switch sides, maybe they can win. I like that meta villain. And yeah, no, to be fair, this is getting at that Lokis are villains, that they do lose. And what, Loki's faked his death at least 3 times. It's probably more than that, but I can at least think of 3 times. And I guess that's not even counting him coming back for this, because yeah, I guess they are right. Lokis don't die. We see Mobius in B-15, and all of a sudden a branch in the timeline appears on the monitor, because presumably they fixed all the branches that Sylvie caused in 2 episodes ago. But normally the branches go like this, right? They're like slopes like this. Instead, Loki and Sylvie's branch is just like straight up. It's got a little wiggle room, but it's like a straight up thing. So that's, you know what? We'll save it. We'll save it. Let's just say one of my problems with this episode is I don't entirely love their solution here. From there, they're able to since this Nexus event has been created, they're able to catch Loki and Sylvie. They take them into custody. They go to, they open a portal for Loki, a red one. Ooh, spooky. And Loki tells Mobius that, hey, the TVA is lying to you. Because Moby and Loki have a great dynamic, and this episode definitely stresses that. Mobius calls Loki like a bad friend at this moment. And yeah, they are friends. And I think this episode has done a good job at it. So from there, he gets thrown into the time cell, which is basically like a time loop prison where he's forced to relive the same event over and over again. And it's Lady Sif from the first 2 Thor movies coming in, beating him up and leaving, telling him that he'll always be alone. Which, okay, now I know we have had cameos in these shows before. I don't think there was one in WandaVision, besides for, Darcy and Wu, right? They're all small cameos, because Rhodey was in Falcon and Winter Soldier, and now Sif is in this. And that's, I like these little, while we know from WandaVision to temper our expectations, like Doctor Strange isn't going to show up in this. But we now know to temper our expectations. So a cameo like Lady Sif, that's kind of cool, because she's one of the MCU characters that have gotten around the most. She's in both Thors. I think she survives Ragnarok, because when Hela kills the group from the first 2 Thor movies, she kills everyone but Sif. So presumably Sif makes it off, and who knows? I know Sif is also in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Yeah, I think Sif is one of the characters who has gotten around the most. Her and Nick Fury. I think because Samuel Jackson's in all the Avengers movies. I don't think he's in Civil War, but he is also he makes a brief cameo in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Yeah, isn't that interesting? But I actually like this scene because this actually calls upon the mythology. We've been talking about mythology and Loki, like how they call him Loki Laufeyson now. The Loki being gender fluid also totally draws from mythology, because, he did, one of his kids is an 8-legged horse. And this is actually a story. I mean, it's a little different, obviously. But yeah, in mythology, in mythology, Thor and Sif are married, and Loki cuts off Sif's hair, which then through a series of complicated events leads to the creation of Mjolnir. Because mythology is weird. Because mythology. I know there's a saying that comic books like Superman are the modern day Greek mythology. And on one hand, I see that. And telling the story about how Loki cutting off Sif's hair leads to the creation of Mjolnir. that totally sounds like a because comics thing. So on one hand, yeah, no, I kind of agree with the whole comics are the modern day mythology. But on the other hand, I guess that saying is actually just a form of like marketing for comic books. That saying was actually created to like market and sell comic books. And like it's all bullshit, which I also totally see. So, and both those statements can exist simultaneously. Yeah, I don't know. It's just something that I thought was neat, and I don't know. I'm sure other people have pointed out, but I wanted to. And yeah, I forgot Sif and Thor are married. Not in the MCU, of course, and probably not in the comics, because I know Thor has slept with Valkyrie. I mean, him and Captain America went to hell to save her that one time. And I know Thor has also been with the Enchantress, so comics. Because of this, we get Loki self-reflecting on his situation, that he's trapped in the time loop, that he is like, because a lot of this show has been Loki self-reflecting, or Mobius specifically reflecting onto Loki, like pointing out all of his flaws. And Loki's like, yeah, I'm a narcissist and I will forever be alone. And Sif's like, yeah, damn right. Mobius wants to talk to both Loki and Sylvie, but Ravonna tells him, nope, you can only talk to Loki, go deal with him. Also, he runs into B-15, who is shaky to say the least. So they talk about like what's going on, and Loki claims to have been pulling the strings, that this entire time he's been in charge, that Sylvie came to him years ago, and that they've been slowly formulating his plan. And right, that's his lie to try to protect Sylvie, because he claims Sylvie's a pawn. And Mobius's lie is that Sylvie has been pruned, that she's gone and now it's just him. And yeah, of course, Mobius knows Loki. He knows he's full of shit. But the Sylvie thing gets on Loki, which leads to the point that Mobius makes, that Loki is in love with Sylvie. And that's why this whole Nexus event was created, is that the idea that two variants can love each other, that Loki can be so narcissistic he can love a version of himself, is just chaos. It breaks reality, and that's why this Nexus event happened. So last week's cold open was originally going to be me talking about Loki and Sylvie, because I had seen people telling others not to ship Loki and Sylvie, that other people had seen people shipping Loki and Sylvie and were like, nope, don't do this. I myself personally have not seen it. Even now, I haven't seen anyone actively shipping Loki and Sylvie, but I've seen people talk about people doing it. And the internet is a place that exists. So of course that's something that happens. Of course, the first thing drawn, because this is self-cessed, is I think the word that people use. It's like a version. It's basically shipping one character with another version of themselves. The best example I can think of is Once-cessed, which is the Onceler from the Lorax being shipped with another identical version of himself, which is a real thing that happened. Go watch the Sarah Zed video. Well, this isn't as extreme as that. That's what's going on here. This is self-cessed. So it doesn't surprise me that this is happening. But this is definitely weird, and I don't know how to feel about it. Because on one hand, I'm like, really? Is that... Because... Now, of course, I know last week we talked about Loki being bisexual, and I made the joke like, oh, they've never focused on Loki's love life, and they're not going to give Loki a boyfriend. That has nothing to do with this. That's not my problem. I don't like if it had been Loki and another, if like Tom Hiddleston had been playing both roles, I would still have the same problem. My problem is the self-cessed. That's just fucking weird. It's not a complete turnoff. I guess I should also say that. Like, it doesn't ruin the show for me or anything. And especially like Mobius pointing out that like, oh, he's so narcissistic that this is ridiculous. Probably sells it better than it could have. Also, how the episode ends. But I'm definitely hesitant Because, and part of it, the other reason this annoys me is that this is how they get off Lamentus. I kind of write that, oh, the fact that Loki loves himself is so ridiculous that this is how they escape Lamentus, because they create, right, this is something that should never happen. And that, I don't like that. I kind of wish they had just stolen the ship, the Ark, and escaped with that. And that's what gets them on the Timekeeper's radar. That would have been more, I don't want to say interesting. It just would have been more in line with what the show's doing. I feel like Loki and Sylvie being in love just kind of breaks things. And I know that's the point. Mobius will later point out that, like, hey, Loki, you and Sylvie being in love is like this new, never before seen Nexus event, and it has the potential to destroy the TVA. And I know that's kind of what this is going for, I guess, but it doesn't kill the show for me, not even close. But I just feel kind of uneasy about it, you know? I mean, it could be worse. It could be far worse. And then Loki reveals to Morbius that everyone in the TVA is a variant, which of Loki, Mobius is like, no, I don't believe you, throws him back in the time loop. And Loki calls him out like, you're the biggest liar in the TVA. The biggest lie is the one you tell yourself. Yeah, that's a good moment. That's because it makes sense. Meanwhile, B-15 is with Sylvie, and she just opens a portal and takes them back to Roxcart and tells me, like, show me my life before the TVA, right? Are these memories? Is this an illusion? Nope, they're memories. And it's, yeah, show me my life before the TVA, because they're all variants. They all had lives. And the nice part about this is that we don't actually see her memories. B-15 says she used to be happy, but we don't actually know what she sees. Like, they could have done a flashback here, like what they did at the beginning of the last episode, but they don't. And I think that makes for a better episode. I think that makes for a better moment that we don't actually see it, right? It's all played through the actress's face. And I think that sells it. I think that makes for a much more interesting moment. After that, so Mobius and Ravonna meet up, and they talk about how, oh, this is case closed. They did it, right? The variant case with the Lokis that have been plaguing them for years now, I guess. It's finally solved. They're finally done. Ravonna asked Mobius the question if he could go any place on the timeline, where would he go? He doesn't give an answer because he's still more focused on what Loki's saying. Because in his heart, he knows Loki. He knows Loki's telling the truth. He knows what's really going on. He tries to get some information out of Ravonna, but he can't actually get anything out of her. Ravonna tells him that the Timekeepers personally want to oversee the pruning of Loki and Sylvie, and that for the first time ever, Mobius will meet the Timekeepers, which he's like, yeah, cool, sure, finally. But of course, he's questioning everything. It's during this moment that he switches out his and Ravonna's tempad, so now he has her, so he can get all of her information. And also during this moment, Ravonna doesn't want to give him any answers, but tells him that no, she cares about him, and she doesn't want to see him hurt at the hands of Sylvie. It's more, again, most of it is the fact that they're variants, because Ravonna knows. So how much does she know? That's a good question that we'll get to at the end of the episode. That they're friends, right? They talk about how, like, oh, we've seen the entire multiverse, or the entire universe, multiverse, not yet. We know that friendship like ours is rare. It's a good right? Mobius calls it out as a good speech, and it is. Of course, it's all to cover up her lies, so yeah. After that, so Mobius takes the time pad, searches through it about C20, and finds out that yes, C20 was pruned and it was Ravonna, that she's lying to him. So yeah, he knows what's up. After that, Mobius goes to Loki and asks him, like, do you deserve to be alone? Honestly, do you believe that? This is where we get the Nexus event can bring down the place, that, hey, potentially their love is so powerful, right? The power of friendship and love. This is where Mobius and Loki, yeah, they're friends. They are, and trust the word of a friend. So Ravonna comes in and takes back her tempad. And this is where Mobius is like, if I could go anywheres, I'd go back to where I'm from, my place in the timeline. He's aware he's a variant. Who knows? Maybe I had a jet ski. Yeah, because this is the moment where it's like, this is honestly, out of every moment that happened in this is the one where I was like, oh no, because Mobius gets pruned. And that just, that's the one that hits. Because, and of course, at the end of the episode, there's still hope. Who knows? Maybe he will get his jet ski after all. But in the moment, I'm like, oh, that sucks. Because he's the one character I really like. A lot of like what goes on in this episode really does feel like it's leading towards a finale. Like, this feels like it could be a final episode. The fact that Morbius gets pruned, such a big character in this episode, this definitely does feel like a finale, or at least like the episode before a finale. But no, we've got 2 episodes after this. Mobius getting pruned, B15 is compromised because after getting back with Sylvie, she runs off to do whatever. She goes and gets the weapon back. Ravonna captures Loki, captures Sylvie, and takes them up to the Timekeepers. And as they're riding up, Sylvie asks, hey, what was my Nexus event? And Ravonna's like, I don't remember. Which, okay, what was her Nexus event? Because I do think they actually give it away in this episode. The obvious thought is that, oh, Sylvie is a girl and Loki is a boy. And that's what triggered it. I don't think that's it. That's the obvious thing. I don't think that's it. The answer that I think makes more sense is that Loki is a villain. He's the bad guy. Sylvie was too nice. Her playing with her action figures at the beginning. It's about saving Asgard. When they get to the TVA, she tells them to save the guy who's struggling. She's too nice. That's what triggers her Nexus event. I like that. I like that interpretation. Of course, you could always go with the other one, but I like mine. After that, they go and they meet the Timekeepers. One of the things I think is interesting is that because in the comics, the Timekeepers are just like blue lizard men. And this one, like, one of them is blue, one of them is green, and the other is like a cyan or whatever. The other's also kind of a shade of blue. And I like that they didn't just make them all like the same, like ominous, like voice one. It's kind of actually hard to understand the Timekeepers. So the take isn't terrible. It's not what you expect, obviously, because, we've seen a lot of them up to this point, and they definitely look different than what we expect to see based on the statues we've seen all around the TVA. Like, the green one has like a mustache, and I don't think any of the statues have a mustache. I could totally be wrong about that. Sylvie tells the Timekeepers that, oh, the reason you're getting rid of us, the reason you've taken this so personally is that you're scared of us. The Timekeepers are like, yeah, whatever. Then B15 comes in, takes off their time warp collar thingies. We get a fight scene, which, okay, maybe it's just the setup, but it reminds me of like not Luke Skywalker fighting Darth Vader in front of the Emperor, but more of like the throne room fight from The Last Jedi, because Loki and Sylvie B15 gets knocked out immediately, but Loki and Sylvie fight off all the guards, right, with the pruning sticks on the end. It kind of reminds me of like the poor man's scene from The Last Jedi, because and I say poor man's because it's a lot smaller. There's only like 4 guards plus Ravonna. It's a lot smaller of a scene, but it's not terrible. It's short, and it sucks that B15's out immediately, but it's fine. Sylvie throws one of the weapons at the Timekeepers and hits it in the head, and the head falls out because, hey, it's an android. Yeah, bullshit's up. I don't know what to do with this. The fact that the Timekeepers are robots. I mean, Loki says that something along the lines of there's always a bigger fish. Of course, this isn't the end. Who's controlling the Timekeepers? Who's controlling the TVA? That's the bigger question. And to that end, I have no idea. The Timekeepers being robots, yeah, that also makes sense. I'm not going to say I specifically saw it coming, but like it was like there's something up with the Timekeepers. Like the whole people in the TVA being variants also. The twist the real twist that surprised me in this episode is Mobius being pruned. I did not expect them to get rid of him with 2 episodes left to go, even though I guess it makes sense from where we're going from here potentially. But yeah, the timekeepers being robots, I don't know. Yeah, the first thought is based on that. It's like, hey, what if these robots were created by King the? Because I had theorized that, hey, what if King the Conqueror, after the events of Thanos snapping all the people on Earth, King the Conqueror is going to take over Earth, right? That leads to his future where he rules the universe. But then because the Avengers go back in time and undo the snap, now he no longer rules the universe, and that's why he's going to come back in time and, try to redo the snap or whatever. So, like, the idea that, hey, what if Kang created the TVA to create the one timeline where he becomes ruler of the one singular universe? And to that end, I don't know. I mean, who else has the power to create robots like these? Him? Doctor Doom? I'm sure there's a ton of other people. The fucking the Magi? The Magus? Is that it? Is the Adam Warlock? Is it the evil Adam Warlock is the Magus? I don't know. After that, Loki tells Sylvie that I have to tell you something about the Nexus event, and then Ravonna prunes him. Like I said, I didn't technically see it coming. I think it would be very interesting if the last two episodes just followed Sylvie. That would be a fucking twist, and a twist I would be totally down for. Of course, that wasn't what was going to happen, but I think that would be interesting. After that, Sylvie steals the weapon from Ravonna and's like, tell me everything, which I am curious. How much did Ravonna know the timekeepers were robots? It'd be curious if she did. Were the timekeepers ever even real? I'm curious. We'll see where it goes from here. And that's where the episode ends. But of course, as like most of these shows, we do well, they don't start with post-credit scenes. They eventually do get them. And the post-credit scene is Loki like waking up. Hey, Loki's alive. Someone tells him, come with us if you want to live. And there's Kid Loki, which I know is a thing from, like I said, I this one I actually do know. Lady Loki, I've been told that's a thing, but I actually have no idea. Kid Loki, I know is actually a thing. I know that's a thing from, I want to say Avengers Academy. There's like an old man Loki that looks like the original Loki, right? Or more specifically, the Loki from Avengers 1, right? The original Avengers comic with Loki. It's got the same costume. That's cool. There's another Loki, and then there's an alligator Loki, because why not? It'd be like having a bear Loki. But yeah, where are they? What's going on here? I have no idea. Are they outside of the timeline? Or is he now in a world filled with Lokis that anyone who gets pruned now gets stuck in their own like soul gym style world? What's going on? I have no idea. Oh, I say like this episode kind of feels like a finale. Part of me is the good part of that is that from here anything is possible. These next two episodes, literally anything can happen. So to that end, I like that, because I don't like some of the things in this show were kind of like, yeah, from the first episode you can kind of see where this is going, but from here on out it's like I have no idea. It's like the start of WandaVision. Right, the start of WandaVision, anything was possible. Here in Loki, anything is possible from here on out. I think this is a good episode. It feels like a final episode, or at least a second to last episode. We get a lot of big reveals, a lot of big moments, a lot of understanding. Some characters are killed off, potential. I mean, is there an entire world of Mobiuses where it's Mobius, the cowboy from Night at the Museum, Lightning McQueen, the Dumb and Dumber? I can't remember either of the characters' names. Is there a Mobius Owen Wilson world? They're all riding jet skis. That'd be neat. That'd be your neat like Avengers eating chimichangas end credit scene. It's not gonna happen. But I like Mobius. I liked his deconstruction of Loki and them becoming friends. I'd hope he gets a better ending than some of these others. I'm fascinated to see where it goes from here. I'm not gonna say the sky's the limit. I'm not gonna make that mistake again. But there is potential here. Multiverse is waiting in front of them. That's still our end goal. But what leads us there? Anything's possible. For now, I hope you all enjoyed. Stay tuned for more. Till next time, peace.